Told you guys I'm bringing back the pushback. Trying to let my hair grow. I don't know how far I'll make it, but I'm trying. And there it was pretty easy because you really don't need to comb your hair for nobody. But out here is a different story. We're gonna talk about low security, medium security, and high security prisons pretty much. And pretty much you know how I do it. Then I top it off with a story that has to do with, with me. So let's get into this video. Hey, what's up guys? My name is JC. I am Raw and Strong. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell, thumbs up, thumbs down. You know how it is. If you're part of my crew, mi familia, mi raza, mi pandilla, you already know what's up. Grab the keys, gas it up, súbanse a la Suburban, o mándales la Suburban, one of the two. ¿Qué onda, raza? Todo bien? Hey, we're gonna talk about when I was at Lompoc low security prison. As you guys know, the system goes in security, from low. I mean, you have camps that are like super low where you pretty much don't have a fence, nothing. You're out. You get to do a lot more stuff. Then you got lows that have like one fence. You get into mediums that have 3 fences, and then you get to USPs where it's a big ass wall. You ain't doing nothing. But there's still rules and regulations that a lot of people follow through the whole like convict prison lifestyle, whatever you want to call it. One of them being paperwork. You get your paperwork checked as soon as you get to the yard, and what that means is that they're checking to see if you have any child molesting charges, ratting charges, all that good stuff. And what happens with your people is they make a phone call to the world and they figure out what's going on with you. That's how the Land Kings did it in Florida. And you still show up with your paperwork, you give it to them. You actually, I think over there in the feds they had a 90-day grace period for you to produce paperwork, or they would just call your family members or the courts to get them sent in. But you hear a lot of talk, man, about how you're not supposed to be in certain yards, and that's true. And I met a lot of dudes that did most of their time in high-level yards. I met a lot of dudes that did their time in medium yards and stuff like that. But once you start to hit low yards, that's where a lot of sex offenders are. That's where a lot of people that cooperated are, and it is what it is. I hate to you hear so many people talking crap about, oh, you should have taken flight on this, on that. It's not true. It's not true. I've seen some of the most toughest motherfuckers do time in such high security levels that when they actually get to a low, they're doing sweet time and they're comfortable. As long as your people's clean, that's all that matters. And you know what? I'll probably get like a lot of hate on this video, a lot of people talking crap, but it's true. Once you reach a low security yard, you're pretty much doing sweet time. And a lot of people don't want to fuck that up. So they do their time, mind their own business, and do what they do. Do they still follow some of the guidelines and rules? Yeah, they do with their people. They check paperwork, they make sure everything is clean with their car. Like the homies did in Lompoc, like most of the Paisas did in Lompoc, like the blacks did. Like all I can speak about is in Lompoc because it's the only low security yard I've ever been to. I told you guys in the past, when I got there and I got off the bus, it was almost like I thought I had walked into a college, campus. And this is in the federal system. The low security yard I had been to in Illinois in state prison, that was East Moline. I also been to Dixon, that's a medium high. I also been to Stateville, that's a high. And state prison, federal prison is very, very different. Very, very different. You know, you have in state prison in Illinois, you know, you're bumping into all your cats from the street, all your people that you know. It's very different. It's like you're in your backyard. You're playing with everybody in the backyard. When you're in the feds, you're playing in everybody's backyard because there's people from Washington, California, Texas, New Mexico. There's people from everywhere, and sometimes, you know, you get sent to these yards where you're far away. Like when I was in Florida, like when I was in Georgia, when I was in California, and then there's more people there from that place, but there's also a lot of people from other places. So when I got off the bus and I got to Lompoc, it was nice, I'm not gonna lie, it was really green. They had the biggest weight pile I have ever seen in my whole life of doing time. I mean, they had leg press, they had 4 to 5 benches, you know, incline, decline. They had dumbbells that went up to 150. I mean, they had it all. It was a badass yard, you know, and basketball courts, handball courts, I mean, you name it. It was a sweet yard. When I got there, I've told you guys in the past, I sat with the Paisas. I went to go see the main dude. There was no Latin Kings there. I went to go speak with the main dude that was running the Paisas. Gave him my paperwork. They said I could sit with them, so I sat with them. You know, I've told you guys in the past, most Paisas are not gangbangers. Most Paisas are there for illegal entry. They're just bonding together so they don't get fucked with. Is there a couple of rotten apples in the bunch? Yeah, there's a couple ones that are from the street. There's a couple ones that are from clicas, that are from Mexico or from other places, yeah. But most of them are just illegal entry. So when I sat down with them, obviously they looked at me as like muscle. One, you know, you're looked at as an American that just sits with them. You're not really a Paisa, you know, and I got that a lot from them when I was there. Almost like I had to, like, you know, prove myself. And, you know, I got pulled over a couple of times because it was really, really weird on that yard. The Paisas were all together, but they were all broken up into states. You know, you had Michoacanos, you had Chihuahuas, you had them all broken up, and they all had their own, you know, spokesperson for that state. That's what happens when you have too many of the same group in one place. It creates chaos and, you know, hunger for power and stuff. So one day the Michoacanos rolled up on me and they asked me, hey, why do you sit with the Paisas, blah, blah, blah. So once they hear me talk and I tell them, you know, where I'm from, where my family's from, and how I've done time in Mexico, and about how I connect with Paisas, they're like, okay, cool. All right, that's why you're sitting with us. You know, they're thinking other crazy shit. They're thinking, you know, oh, I'm a dropout, I'm this. People don't understand it's very, very different in Chicago compared to other places where you're able to get the blessing to walk out of your gang and be done. Move away, change your life. There's a lot of King brothers that have retired and don't gangbang no more, and that's it, point blank. You're not considered a PC. You're not considered none of those things that people call it in these, I guess you could say, in these prison channels or this whole genre of videos. So I sit down with the Paisas. I'm there whenever they need me. I'm there. Well, right when I was getting ready to come home, it was about a month. I was almost done, you know, and I was on the yard working out. I usually had my little crew that I worked out with the Paisas on the yard, and one of them came up to me, one of the leaders came up to me and was like, yo, there's sex offenders that's sitting in front of the Paisa TV in your area. And I was like, okay. I was like, shit, you know, I'm going home in a month. You know, this is gonna get me more time. This is gonna get me more time, and they're gonna send me to the medium across the street. So I was like, fuck, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do in there sometimes, and it doesn't really matter what you think or how you feel. It is what it is. You know, you either take care of business, or you lock it up, and then you are a PC. You are, you know, a piece of shit, or whatever you want to call it. You know, one thing that I've learned, man, is that like I always say, man, that whole tough man, tough boy, whatever you want to call it, gangster mentality, man, has pretty much gotten me nowhere. You know, obviously they had to pick the torpedo. I call it torpedo because, you know, obviously I was the torpedo. Why? Because they didn't look at me as like one of their own. They didn't look at me as like a member or whatever you want to call it. Or maybe they did. Maybe that's why they sent me. All I know is they told me you and 2 other guys have to go over there and take care of business. I was like, all right, man. So, you know, I went, put on my boots, booted up, tied my shoelaces up, put on my jogging pants, pretty much packed all my shit in my locker. So, you know, when they came to get all my shit, everything was packed up and gone. So I did all that. You know, I come around the corner, sure enough, you know, the dude's sitting there watching TV. So I come up to him and I'm like, yo, if you don't leave here in 2 minutes, I'm gonna fuck you up. And I walked away. I went to the bathroom, got my shit right. As I was walking back, the guard was already walking him towards, you know, segregation. And then after that, I was like, okay, so now they're gonna come and get me because now he's gonna tell. So the guard was walking him already to the shoe and walking him out. So then I just sat down in front of my bunk and I was like, they're gonna come and get me right now, because usually what happens after that, they tell and they come and get you and they walk you segregation, you get your time, you get your ticket, and you get moved up to a higher security yard. To my surprise, he didn't tell. You know, I was actually very, very surprised, and you know, I ended up doing my last month there, and I ended up coming home. The thing is, this is what I always say, that whole tough mentality, gangster, whatever you want to call it, man. In there, you're gonna have to make decisions sometimes that are not gonna benefit you. They'll benefit your car, your people. You know, you'll earn stripes in there for them, but benefit you, it won't. What would have happened is if I would have fucked that dude up, I would have caught new charges. I would have probably got like 3 or 4 years on my case, and I would have got shipped up to a higher security prison, probably USP, and then at a USP, it would have been even worse. And it just keeps on getting worse and worse, because then you're there, you have to have a knife on you, and it just keeps getting worse and worse. So my message is, stay your ass out of fucking prison. Stay your ass out of prison. Stay your ass off the streets. Don't think that shit's cool, because it's not. It's really not. And you put yourself in a lot of predicaments in there that at the end of the day, you're the one that ends up fucked, nobody else. My name's JC. I am Wrong Strong. Stay in your lane. Don't judge nobody. Live savage. And remember, you only have one life to live. But if you live it right, one life is all you need. I'll catch you guys on the rebound.